So this was definitely a bit of a welcome surprise to wake up to. So the KC Cup has concluded, and with it, Konami's given us a bit of a surprise update. They gave us a new level cap increase for the Divaridis characters, and this time around, they've really outdone themselves with the rewards. A new Simon Gradix Seas monster, a new Goki Link 4, they gave us Link Goddamn Karibo, Triple Burst Dragon, and of course, they gave us the subject of today's video, which I think most people are going to be pretty damn excited for. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get into the deck list, apparently about 35% of people watching this are even subscribed to the channel, which means 65% of you haven't clicked that button yet. So if you guys are enjoying this kind of content or see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, make sure to hit that like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out quite a lot and lets you guys know whenever I upload. So without further ado, let's get into this deck list. So today's deck is obviously going to be Trickstar. Now what exactly is new about this art type? We just got ourselves the brand new field spell Trickstar Light Stage, which is quite possibly the art type's best card, so it's no wonder people are getting sort of excited about this thing. This card is crazy, and although it's only limited to 1, it doesn't really matter too much, since limited to 1 in this deck means it doesn't really compete with anything anyway, since we're not playing 1-for-1, we're not playing Mirror Force, we're not playing Monster Reborn, so it's not like this is sort of taking up some tech slot or anything, and it being at 1 copy also means basically jack shit, as people that played this card would probably only play it at 1 or 2 anyway, since it's searchable off of your Candina, and this deck, as you guys probably know, does a lot of drawing off Crimson Heart. So getting a hold of this card, as you'll see in all the replays, happens almost every game without fail. The only time it wouldn't happen is if you don't open it and you need to search for your Trickstar Festival for whatever play you're making. That's basically it. Because even when using Candina's search for a monster, this card doesn't even disrupt to that, since this card basically when it's activated can add 1 Trickstar monster from your deck to your hand. So it just adds an extra step to your Candina search. You normal summon Candina, you want to search for a Corobane, you'll just search for the field spell instead, and the field spell will search for the Corobane. So there's no real reason not to search for this unless you want your Trickstar Festival. But that's not all this card can do. This card is also a brilliant card at just forcing out your opponent's back row when they really don't want to use it. Basically, once per turn you can target 1 set card in your opponent's spell and trap card zone. While this card's on the field, that set card cannot be activated until the end phase, and your opponent must activate it during the end phase or else send it to the graveyard. So already this card's a brilliant card at dealing with things like trap holes and cards that activate on summon, because obviously they can't be used during the end phase because you're not summoning anything, so this just stops them being just removes them completely. The other use of this card is it forces out back row early. Things like Book of Moon or Compulse will have to be used on things like your Candina in response to this light stage's activation. For example, you normal summon Candina, you search for your field spell. Activate field spell, target their Compulse. They will use it in response, trying to return the Candina to hand, and all of a sudden, you know what this decklist can do, activates Lycoris, swap that card over, and they basically just wasted a Compulse. Even if you don't have this card in your hand, it means you can activate your festival rather safely and go into your Link monsters without having to worry about them being removed by whatever back row. This card is just absolutely brilliant at forcing out your opponent's stuff when they really do not want to use it. This card also has one final effect, which is actually a lot more relevant than it sounds. Each time a Trickstar monster you control inflicts battle or effect damage to your opponent, inflict 100 damage to them. Which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you take into effect that each of your Trickstar monsters is going to be burning for a bunch of damage anyway, and of course each of them are going to be doing battle damage with things like your Corobane, this just adds up to a lot of damage. You end up doing something like 800 to 900 extra damage every single turn, just because this field spell is going to be active, which is pretty damn crazy. It is essentially turning your Trickstar monsters to their original burn damage like they are IRL. Instead of doing 100, it'll be doing 200. Instead of doing 100, it'll be doing 200. And that damage really does add up. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this deck list, as the rest of the deck list is just your typical Trickstar stuff, which you guys are probably already well aware of how the cards work. The only last thing I kind of want to mention is, this back row is definitely not optimal. I just don't own Compulse, and I don't own 3 copies of Prison. If I did, I'd 100% play 3 copies of Prison, and I'm not even too sure about playing Needle Sealing anymore, as there's a lot of cards that just don't care about destruction, things like Rocket, things like Time Lord. There's just a lot of stuff out there that just doesn't care about this, so or Salamangreat, for example, so playing this might not be the best option. Maybe it's better to play Book of Moon, but if you have things like Compulse or more copies of Ice Dragon's Prison, you should definitely cut these and play those instead, as they are just way better cards. I just don't own them. And if you do play them, this deck list will feel very nice. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the replays. So today I have 3 replays to share with you guys, all of which are going to be using Light Sage and showing just how good this card can be. Normally I'll gather a few more replays for you guys, but I kind of want to get this video out rather quickly, since it is already 1:46 AM, and I really shouldn't be recording it this time, so... Alright. If you guys are wondering, by the way, what sort of win rates I had with this, it wasn't that great. I think I had just a massive win streak, then I almost got demoted, so I did rank up once with this deck. It's definitely coggable, like most things are, but yeah, if you have, especially if you have better trap cards or better sort of back row in this deck list, it's going to be really damn good. Alright, so we're going to activate our Festival first, summoning my 2 dudes, so I can link summon into Crimson Heart. Now I can normal summon a monster to the arrow it's pointing to, so I gain an extra bit of life points. Searching for my Light Stage. Activating it immediately and searching for my Corobane to use during his turn. And of course, 3 effects, giving this card an extra 2,000 life, or giving us an extra 2,000 life points, drawing 2, discarding 1, and giving him 1 draw. Alright, and setting up some back row. So here's an example of Needle Sealing not being the best matchup. You don't really want to destroy these by card effect. Opponent trying to use spell cards, easily minus 200. Goes into a Booster Dragon. We can now IDP that. Unfortunately, or fortunately, our opponent uses a Rapid Trigger. I'm not really sure yet. This guy likes to summon out his big fusion monster for some reason. Sure. It's just going to get banished by the IDP, so I'm not fast. And again, minus 200. He's already lost 400. Summoning a dude as a Dragon's Mirror. Again, another minus 400 life points. Alright, he's going to try and pop a card on the field. Going to pop the back row. Decides not to go into battle phase because he's scared of the Corobane, and in response, just during the end phase, I'm going to swap this over for a Lycoris so I can use my Candina and get another Surge. Alright. Normal summon, getting some life points, getting a Search, grabbing a Festival. This is so I can discard the Festival, because Festival is actually a really good card to discard, because having it in the graveyard means if you're playing any destruction effects, you can protect your link monsters from them, so it's a good card to discard. It means even if opening 2 copies of this isn't that bad. Alright. So burning in for a whole bunch more, link summoning to a Holy Angel, using Festival, going into a copy of Madonna. Honestly, I'm not really sure why I went to Madonna here, I was just kind of flexing, because I think this game was basically over. Alright, and you see the burn damage, by the way, it's really stacking up. Like, he's actually at 2800, and that was the first time... Actually, I haven't even done battle damage to him yet, right? So you see the burn damage really stacks up with the field spell. Alright, tries to pop my monster, of course, I can protect it. I have a Lycoris in hand, I can swap over this card on field, and that'll just be lethal on board. Alright. So you can really see this field spell is hella stacking up. Alright. So I think this was the 4th game before the rank up, I think. Only 2 games in. Yeah, so I did have like a 4 or 5 game win streak to rank up, and then nearly demoted, so... Alright. This is another art type, which, again, isn't very, like, you don't really want to destroy these cards very much, so I think Needle Sealing probably should be replaced with Book of Moon in this. I just like the interaction of Needle Sealing in combination with your spell in the graveyard, because it protects your link monsters and still nukes the field, so I know, up to you if you want to play this card. I think it's more fun with it, but, yeah, maybe Book of Moon's just better. Or maybe some other kind of trap card, whatever you feel like playing. The destruction effects aren't really that great at the moment. Alright, so obviously activating my Trickstar, targeting this card, he decides not to use it, which means he can now no longer use this for the rest of the turn. He's going to try to use his Bottomless on this card, of course, Lycoris in hand, swapping it over. Like, this deck was already fairly good into back row, and now it's just even better into back row. It's one of the few decks in Duel Links where you can just get away with not playing MST, and the deck will still run fairly fine, if not optimally, without the MST. Which is very rare in this game, just judging by how back row works. Alright, getting out my dude. Getting some life points, discarding, drawing a bunch. Alright, swinging into Straw Man, he's going to summon his untargetable dude. Unfortunately though, I didn't actually search for my Corobane for some reason. I don't remember why, but either way, I didn't search for Corobane, so... But it's fine, we've got IDP, so... He decides not to swing in this because I think he was scared of Corobane, despite seeing me not swing into his monster during my turn. I don't know about that, but anyway. Not that it matters because he mills a whole bunch of cards, and now he's going to be hit with the Ice Dragon's Prism. Alright. Summons out his Negati dude, which I don't really care about. I'm going to Trickstar Light Stage this, which is a little bit annoying because it banishes my boy. But it also pops his monster, so I now have just lethal on field. Alright. See, that was another example where I couldn't really use Needle Sealing, or just sort of benefits him. I'm not really sure how benefit it is for Cosmos to destroy their own cards, because I don't really play against that archetype all that often, so I didn't really want to use my my Needle Sealing to pop everything. Maybe I should have on the first one before he potentially swung into my Link 2, but eh. And here's a third matchup where, again, Needle Sealing isn't that great, because putting their Xyz monsters in grave does mean they can sort of revive or use their effects to sort of, or send the trap card to revive and still continue their plays. I don't know. Either way. Alright, this was nearly a demotion game, actually. Alright, summon out my Crimson Heart. Once again, 3 effects, getting some life points, giving us a discard. Turning for a Lycoris. Normally I think it's best to, off the light stage, if you're playing to discard a card, I think it's probably best to discard the Lycoris. And also think it's better to do all your search effect stuff before you use your discard, because this card really does thin out your deck quite a lot, especially because you're searching it off Candina in the first place. So that's 2 extra cards you're not going to have in your deck, so when you use this, so you're going to be a lot more likely to hit your trap cards, so you actually have decent back row, so keep that in mind. Alright, discard hitting the best card this matchup, the Prison. Thank God we hit the Prison, or this matchup would be absolute hell. I think Book of Moon's pretty good in this matchup too, so yeah, probably play Book of Moon. Alright. My boy's gonna be summoning out his dudes. Going into his Breaksword. And as soon as he attaches Slinks to Sling in the graveyard for me, it's gonna get IDP'd. And it's gone. Alright, Light Stage targeting the back row, of course forced him to use it, which is a very suboptimal Book of Moon. He's actually going to use it on his own monster so he takes less battle damage. And again, minuses a whole bunch. Alright, Corobane summoning itself to the field. Swinging in. Honestly, I probably should have activated this Corobane because I kind of forgot about Crackdown. But because obviously I can't actually use my Lycoris, I won't have a spot on the field to use it. It's fine, he puts his dude in, he takes my dude, I'm going to trade into him. Oh my god, look at this burn damage, by the way. Hit him in the face, then I'm going to swap it over, and that's just going to be lethal on field. The burn damage is crazy. I literally, by the way, could have used another one of these, it's not once per turn, for another 1600, even if this wasn't lethal. So this guy was very beyond dead. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you didn't, leave a like, subscribe, that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob? Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis. Oh.